I won't let you know how it's going to flow. Basically, what's going to happen is I'm going to ask you several different questions, and I need you to give me very specific examples based on your skills and abilities in previous jobs that you have had. So from time to time, I'm going to be looking down at my and taking notes. So I hope I don't bother you at all by doing this, but I want to make sure that I capture everything accurately, everything that you say to me. Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. Can you tell me about a time that you've anticipated a customer's need before they even asked a question?
Sure. When I worked at Music City, I had a customer that came into the store. I immediately greeted her, asked her what I could help her find. She said she was just browsing for a gift for her nephew. I noticed she was lingering in the alternative music category for a while. She was pulling out CDs. She even picked one up, walked around, put it back. At the time, we had a special limited edition Pro Jam's Greatest Hits. So I approached her again and I said, I'm not sure what artist the person you're buying a gift for likes, but we have this special edition Pro Jam Greatest Hits. I showed her the CD and all the songs on the special edition. She immediately said she thought it would be the perfect gift, and she thanked me, saying that she had been struggling on deciding what to get for her nephew. I told her he had 30 days to bring it back if it wasn't what he wanted. She said that was great because Music Mart will only give you 7 days.
Well, Lisa, thank you for that very specific example. That's exactly what I'm going to be looking for as we go forward in our interview process. Thank you very much.
So you can see how the interview guide is not only a sure way to keep you in the conversation focused, on track, and within legal guidelines, but it gives you the questions that tell you more about a candidate's skills. It encourages the candidate to provide specific examples, allowing you to hire the best person for your team. Let's watch an example of how you can use the STAR format to probe for additional information.
So, Tim, tell me about a time that you disagree with your supervisor's direction. What did you do about it, and how did you handle it?
Well, there have been times in the past when I've disagreed with my supervisor's direction. I never really say anything to their face, but I always felt like my way of doing things was much more efficient and better. I mean, you don't want to disrespect your supervisor by challenging them, especially in front of everybody.
Right, exactly. I totally agree with you. We all have times in the past where we've actually had disagreements with our supervisors. However, can you think about a time in your past, very specifically, that you've dealt with this situation? How did you handle it?
Well, I don't think I really have anything specific. Let's see.
Well, I'll tell you what, take your time. It's okay that you can't think of anything right now. As we go on, if anything comes to mind, just let me know, okay?
Well, there's this one time that I was working at Music Box when we got a new department manager. She hadn't really been with the company as long as I had, so she didn't know all the information that I knew on the job. So she would come to me all the time asking me questions, but then she'd turn around and criticize me on something. I'm like, okay, so I'm good enough to help you, but then you turn around and stab me in the back. So one day I confronted her about it, and we kind of went back and forth on some things, and she left my department for a new one.
Okay, that makes sense. However, tell you what, can you give me a little bit more specific details surrounding that conversation, though?
Oh, I see what you mean. Basically, she liked the products to be organized in a certain way and all facing a certain direction.
Okay.
She didn't care that I just spent all morning unpacking inventory boxes. She just wanted everything her way, ordered and alphabetized.
The interviewer was able to get the candidate back on track by reminding him again of what he was looking for in a response.
What was her response?
Well, she did say that she had been neglecting to recognize my efforts to unpack inventory, but she said the reason she wanted things her way was because vendors pay for space on our shelves, and customers come in looking for a specific vendor brand, and when everything's organized, it helps them find it easier. I mean, I can see where she's coming from on that, but I still think she should have been more focused on getting the inventory actually on the floor as opposed to getting it organized in her way.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that very specific example. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Now let's take a minute to look at some challenging interview situations you may have already encountered in your career. We'll see examples of how to effectively maintain control of the interview and proceed in getting the information you'll need to make a good hiring choice. This first example is a candidate who is nervous and tends to ramble.
So, Gabriel, I've had the opportunity to actually look over and read your application. Could you walk me through your experience and some of your day-to-day challenges while working at Gaming Mania?
Yeah, so at Gaming Mania, I started off as a part-time associate, and I really loved the products, loved the customers. So going to work there was fun every day. But then, I wanted to make my way up to full-time status. So the only way to do that, I knew, was to take on more responsibility. But the manager that I was working under at the time, I guess he wasn't really, a team player, or maybe he just didn't like letting go of the job. I'm not sure, but, I would ask him over and over again what I needed to do to get more hours, or what else I could do to help out. He really didn't give me a straight answer, or all he said that, what I needed to do was, to work there longer. But then he left, and then a new manager came in.
Sometimes candidates can get off track. Interviewers need to be able to regain control of the interview and keep the candidates focused on the question.
Then this one time...
Excuse me, Gabriel. It'd be very helpful to me if you could give me more specific examples about your day-to-day task at Gaming Mania.
Simply remind the candidate of the specific information that you are looking for to keep the interview on track. If you have to, remind the candidate of the time you have left. Here is a candidate who is quiet and gives brief and incomplete answers.
So, Alex, can you tell me about some video games that you like to play?
Usually anything to do with sports. Anything to do with sports I'm a pretty big fan of.
Okay, that's good. But anything that you're very passionate about?
I played football in high school, so anything related to football I'm pretty into.
That's great. Then you must be a Madden fan then, huh?
Madden's cool, I guess.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to do here is I'd like to get a better understanding of what you're passionate about so I can get an understanding of what you might recommend to our customers.
Okay, well, in Madden 09, there is...
The store manager politely reminded the job candidate that he needed more specific information. Also, he used follow-up questions to try to get the candidate to provide more detail. When that didn't work, the store manager was very candid about why he needed more specifics. Now we have someone who has no previous work history. What questions do you ask?
So, Adam, I know you don't have any previous work experience. However, today I'm going to be asking you questions about life experiences, your day-to-day life experiences. What I'd like for you to do is pull from like home, community, or any time that you may have done any volunteering. In doing so, I'd like you to tell me about a time that you've had to get other people to agree, even though you may not have been their supervisor, but you did have a direct influence.
I think, yeah, there's a project that I worked on in college with a group of people. It was for a marketing class. Would that be okay to talk about that project?
Sure thing, go ahead.
Okay. It was actually myself and 4 other classmates, and we had to come up with a marketing plan to sell certain items in our make.
If you noticed, the interviewer was already prepared to help the candidate recall experiences that he had in school or in everyday life. The store manager, in this example, wanted to be able to assess whether or not this candidate possessed interpersonal skills that would help him as he worked with customers, peers, and his potential management team to influence new ideas or ways of thinking. Even though this candidate didn't have professional working experience, he did have an example of a time when he worked in a team with others and was not their direct leader. Let's see how he finishes the example.
So I was able to convince the team that my idea was the best because I had all the facts laid out and I gathered everyone's input. So after that point, there wasn't really much influencing that I had to do. They knew my idea was the best and it was clearly laid out and we could accomplish it in the amount of time that it was given to us.
Okay, good.
You've conducted the interview. What next? Well, you'll want to take a minute to rate that candidate 1 through 5 where indicated on your interview guide. This rating is based on the quality of answers given and the skills you've identified during the interview. After rating this candidate, you are considering this person for your store team. Your next step is to set them up for a second interview with your assistant store manager as quickly as possible. We don't want to risk losing this candidate to another nearby retailer who's hiring. Once the second interview is complete, you'll want to compare notes and discuss the viability of this candidate. What did your assistant store manager rate the candidate on the 1 to 5 scale? Where did your opinions differ? If you both liked the candidate, discuss specific examples of why. Let's look at a store manager and assistant store manager compare ratings and notes on 2 candidates they just interviewed for a senior game advisor position.
So you interviewed Lisa yesterday. Let's go over the first category and compare how we ranked her. Why don't you go ahead and give me your thoughts first?
Okay, well, I asked her 2 questions in particular around customer focus because I know how important customer experience is to our business. And these are the examples that she gave me. She started out. So, based on both stars I collected around customer focus, I rated her a 4.
Interesting. Okay, well, I got some different responses from her in that category. In fact, I rather had a more difficult time getting any examples from her, and the ones she gave were rather weak. For example, when I asked her about customer service, this is what. So I gave her a 2 in customer focus.
Okay, well, do you think we can agree on a average score of 3 for her since she did give me more relevant and specific examples?
Yeah, I can live with that. A 3 sounds good. Let's go ahead and move on to the next category now. So if we compare Lisa and Gabriel, let's take a look at their total scores. It appears that Gabriel was ranked higher overall in most categories and was especially strong in customer focus and selling ability. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty obvious who we should move forward with at this point.
Okay, well, I'll run it by our DM, conduct some reference checks, and then we'll be prepared to make Gabriel an offer.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
If you are still interested in this candidate, you will need to consult with your district manager on salary and get their approved to hire signature on the interview guide before making an offer. By hiring the right people, you are helping to reduce the cost of turnover, ensure that our customers receive the best experience possible, and produce the results that will launch your career and Gamestop forward into the future.
Madden 09, there's this feature to where you can throw the ball and hit somebody in the back of the head. You can actually throw the game and win side bets. To where you can actually leave the field and go flirt with cheerleaders. You can just get lost in the crowd and just give high fives. The crowd can actually throw things at you and take you out on free helmet night.
More than $1 for a $60 game?
Please don't hurt me.
I mean, basically, I forgot my line, so I'm just gonna keep winging it.
I'm sorry, Gabriel, but if you can give me a little bit, wanted to cut him out. So before you bring those discs in, make sure that you don't have any jelly or stains around those things before you bring them into this. It appears here that Gabriel was ranked higher. It appears that Gabriel was ranked higher. Appears that Gabriel was ranked higher. Exactly what attracted me to GameStop. In fact, cut. I was getting too caught. I'm sorry.